This is Bad Movies We Love, part of the Shice Podcast Network.
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Hello, Bad Movie lovers, and welcome to Bad Movies We Love. I am your host, Nick Scheist.
The master of this stupid stuff!
It is February, and that means it's horror month here at the show. We have some fun ones on deck, from cannibals to ghost samurai, plus a new Bad Movie Futures and a new Filmmaker in Focus, and the first ever Good Movies We Love feature. And I did not forget that the first Bad Movies Monthly and the Bad Movies We Love Best of 2025 are left over from January, so those are still on the way as well. There is a lot going on in the world at the moment, plus I got sick, so I'm trying to budget my energy as best I can and still deliver a show that hopefully brings some laughter into your lives. So, to get the ball rolling for February, I was joined by Jamie Ray from Fave 5 from Fans to help with the transition from Sci-Fi Month and break the seal on Horror Month as we go whichever way the wind blows with Glen Coburn's Bloodsuckers from Outer Space from 1984. I hope you enjoy the episode.
This movie is the kind that the tongue-in-cheek part of it just really makes me sit back and just enjoy the movie.
The drugs are going to save the day.
I think the low budget is one of the things that people will see and get turned off on.
You got no money? How do you make it look like someone got hit by a car? You just hit them with a car.
You know, like I said, I have a very low bar unless you're really, really trying to make a film.
How to abduct the cinephile. Guy in a van shows up with a bunch of VHSs.
We got to incorporate the butt there so we can make a wind joke at some point.
Let's see those torsos and stuff.
He's got a velvet Jesus behind him.
You cut my fucking arm off.
She realized, yeah, I'm not made out for Hollywood, and she went directly to an airport.
Today, I'm joined by Jamie from Fave 5s from Fans. Oh, welcome to the show.
All right, hey, sorry, good. I was just catching up on a little rating there. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too. 2024 is going to be amazing.
Can't wait for 2026.
Thanks so much for having me on the show, man. I cannot wait to talk about this movie.
Well, thank you for stepping up. I know I had put out a bunch of feelers probably a few months ago, just trying to gather, I don't know, not necessarily intel, but get in touch with some people that wanted to embrace the spirit of the show and come on. And you named a couple, and I think this was the first one that I was like, okay, I think I have an opening at this time where it's gonna fit. And so Here we are. But for my audience that maybe doesn't know who you are, why don't you just tell them a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am the host of several shows, first of which being Fave 5 from Fans, which is a show all about favorites. I also do a show called Sequel House with Jeff Corbello, where we take a movie that didn't have a sequel and we workshop it, do an elevator pitch, and work out all of the details of what the movie would be. That just started, so we're going to have a third episode. The first one was District 10, to follow up to District 9, and then Masters of the Universe Return to Eternia, to somehow fix that 1987 monstrosity. So it's a lot of fun, but we're all part of the Plastic Microphone Studios, which is a group of fellow podcasters. We've got a guy who builds little miniatures, a guy who does home theater reviews. We've got a horror author and screenwriter who talks about the current state of horror. So Very you can find us everywhere, basically on YouTube. You can find us at Fave 5 from Fans. And we ask you to check us out. We're family friendly. We just hit 200 episodes and love what we're doing.
Congrats. That's a lot. I'm working my way there. I think
Yeah.
between all the podcasts I do, I'm definitely over 200, but I'm not like counting each of them together.
Oh,
It's not cumulative, so
uh-huh.
I don't know. I focus on this one most of the time.
Just having fun.
Yeah,
Just having fun, you know.
exactly. Well, since you're the guest of honor, why don't you tell the audience what movie we're talking about?
We are talking about the phenomenal Bloodsuckers from Outer Space by
Look at
Glen
that cover
Corbin.
art.
Oh, I love this guy. This is the 30th anniversary DVD release, which I actually got from Glen. Had him sign it back there. We'll talk more about Glen because he's actually one of the stars of the movie. This is actually my favorite, though. This is the Vinegar Syndrome version of it, with Uncle Joe and his aunt, and it's such a great bad movie that I used to I managed a national video in the late 80s, and we had a guy who would come by once a month with just a literal van full of VHS, and we would pick and choose which one. And so somewhere around 1988, 1989, I found this movie, and I have watched it and learned about it ever since.
It's like How to Abduct a Cinephile. Guy in a van shows up with a bunch of VHSs. Oh literally. My God! Look, the VHS guy's here.
We called him the VHS gypsy because it was one of those long white vans with no windows, and he'd pull up and he'd open the doors and the back doors, and every conceivable space inside but the ceiling had custom built shelves with VHS on it.
Wow, we need more of those.
Oh, it was so phenomenal. I miss that guy so much.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the Criterion closet, the mobile Criterion closet beforehand. Yeah, just go in there and just pick up VHSs. That's awesome.
It was. Well, that's where I found
scary,
this.
But awesome.
Yeah, I loved it. I lost it for a while, and then finally found another copy of it. And then I was lucky enough to meet Glen at Texas Frightmare, and started talking, and so I got this, and I got his book, and so he's actually going to come on the show.
Awesome.
On my Fave 5, and we're going to do Fave 5 independent horror movies.
Awesome.
Looking forward to that in 2026.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That Vinegar Syndrome, I imagine, is semi-recent because the DVD was a 2008 release. So when did that Vinegar Syndrome get
Dude, you were asking me to read this small...
I guess I could...
2018.
Up, right? Okay.
Yeah, 2018. And it came with its... a slip cover, but the copy I got when I bought it didn't have it. But it does have the reversible, which is so hilarious because that monster looks nothing like what the guys do. They actually turn into like blue-skinned, blue-veined bloodsuckers who aren't very good with their kills, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, Vinegar Syndrome did a wonderful job. It's got commentary tracks. It's got a 34 year later 50-minute documentary.
Wow.
It's got Black to Bloodsucker Town, which was really cool because they go back to the town that it was originally filmed in. Special effects. It's got stills galleries, and best of all, this was a 2K restoration from the original 16 millimeter. So it is a glorious badness.
in glorious 2K. As you mentioned, though, written and directed by Glen Coburn, but stars Dan Gallion, Tom Meyers, and Charles Coburn, and then a bunch of other people who maybe never went on to do anything much beyond that. So kind of a fun project. Where was this a lot of locals that were hired to be part of this movie?
It was a lot of Texans. Of course, Pat Paulson, who plays the president, he's probably the one who had the most experience. He was actually back on the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, actually won an Emmy for his appearance in the 1968 version of it. Did some other movies, but by and large, he was the biggest star. It was made up. Tom Meyers plays Jeff, and Dennis Letts, who plays General Sanders, went on to be in like Passenger 57 and a couple of other movies. Glen, of course, plays Ralph, and their dad is the sheriff. So it's a lot of guerrilla style
Yeah.
filming that took place out in East Texas. So it was a lot of fun. There's a lot of interviews in the Vinegar Syndrome. They go back to talk to the guy who did the stunts. They talk to the sound guy who had a lot of history before he got in there and was able to help not just the sound, but with some ideas about directing and whatnot.
Very cool. I'm gonna save some questions that are popping into my head right now. I'm gonna save those for a little later because I feel
Sure.
like they will be better suited when we get into a more robust discussion. But I want to take a look at the tail of the tape because that is ultimately the deciding factor on whether or not a movie is going to be on this show. And
Okay.
so this has an IMDb rating of 4.6. It has no Rotten Tomatoes critic score, but the audience score is a 33. Letterbox has it at a 2.8, so respectable, honestly. And then the Google users rating has a thumbs up of 30%, giving us a Bad Movies We Love total of 41 and a quarter out of 100. So right in the Goldilocks zone, I think,
All right.
for this show. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you in terms of this style of movie, it's a horror comedy. There are movies that are sort of in this ballpark that are unintentionally funny horror movies that are B movies that are like the decisions are so bad, the writing is so bad kind of thing where it becomes a party movie because of sort of like on accident, I would say.
Right.
And then with this, watching it, I'm like, no, there's a lot of stuff in the writing that is very intentional about its humor. So it's a lot different than I think a lot of other bad movies that have become sort of infamous for those reasons. And in any of your conversations with Glenn, since you've met him a couple times, like, have you spoken to him about sort of like that awareness of like operating in that sphere?
Honestly, I was too much fanboying him when I met him to get into it. But I've watched a bunch of articles. He's a very good presence on Facebook, and there's been a ton of different interviews. And one of the things that they talked about in writing it was the fact that he didn't want it to be an outright comedy. He wanted it to have comedic elements to it. And so if you watch the movie, you're going to find out that there's a lot of nods, first of all, to the schlock horrors of like the 70s, the things that are intentionally bad. The makeup, for example, a lot of it ends right here, and so you can tell that the rest of there's a lot of other nods to say movies. For example, if you watch this, you get a from the general, you get a very Doctor Strangelove feel to it. And there's also some things that kind of make you feel like they're a zombie, but they're not. They're actually bloodsuckers. And so some questions come up along the movie that under normal circumstances, I would tear apart and say, well, wait a minute, why are they doing this? And why hasn't this happened?
Yeah.
But this movie is the kind that the tongue-in-cheek part of it just really makes me sit back and just enjoy the movie.
That's fair. It was a first time watch for me, so I'm trying to wrap my head around it the whole time. And a lot of the way that the story is told is kind of straightforward, as if it is just like, hey, this is a low budget horror film. And a lot of the portrayals of the actors, granted, they are maybe saying crazy things at times, or they're reading a line that is meant to be funny. A lot of the actual sort of delivery of those lines is played like it's not played for laughs. And so
Right.
I found it to be an interesting balance of a movie that knows that it's funny. It knows when it wants to utilize the particular types of jokes that it is implementing, and then also is still sort of crafting. It's almost like playing in between a movie that is accidentally entertaining and a movie that wants to be like a full-fledged intentional comedy. It's like it's sort of navigating a very interesting space between other movies that already exist. And I think it's a very sort of hard idea to tell to your cast and your crew, and like to write the script for, of like, this is sort of the narrow kind of scope that we're working with, that is going to be between this schlocky, intentionally bad stuff, and then something that is aware and self-referential in terms of its badness. So it's playing with an interesting toolbox, and I think that was probably
Yeah.
the thing that interested me the most as I watched it. I don't know about you.
Well, for me, one of the things that I've taken away from it after multiple watches is the fact that yes, a lot of the actors are amateurs,
Yeah.
maybe had a little community theater, um, but their performances just really kind of shone through. And you turn around and put them in another movie, but that it might have been wooden. But the craziness of it, of how it happens, of how well, as Julian and Jeff get together so quickly, it's like, oh, does that stuff really happen? But the way they discuss it and they talk and they all of that just makes it kind of feel more like it's supposed to be that way versus it just happens to happen. And I think a lot of that has to do, with Glen's writing and Glen's direction, uh, that it just makes it so much fun for me.
Would you maybe qualify this as like absurdist humor?
I don't Well, taking in spoiler to the ending of it, and I love the ending because it gives me so much of Return of the Living Dead,
Yeah.
ending, with the wrong coordinates. But it's absurd, man. I don't know. You'd have to go far. For me, absurdity comes in the form of like Dead Alive or even Society, where it's like I just don't understand where we're even going with this. Where this one does have kind of the straightforward, it's an alien invasion, but how is it an alien invasion and how is it transmitted? You know what? We don't care. It just is. It's blowing in the wind. And so I don't know. I don't think I would call it absurdist. Of course, a lot of my friends, including Jeff and Nelson, would both say I have some of the worst taste in movies, um, which is a badge I wear. As a matter of fact, they're talking about doing a podcast about movies that Jamie made us watch that we hate. And the first will probably be I bought a vampire motorcycle.
Yeah.
Manuals.
Yeah, you
But
mentioned that one to me.
yeah, so it's that's what it is. So my bar is pretty low until it comes to someone who is actively trying to make a masterpiece, and then it's just no whole bars for me. And I'll be like, why do they do this? Why couldn't they do this? And look over here, they've got two different shirts on and stuff like that. For this movie, I just sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the right approach to this. And there's a lot of absurdist comedies that I really enjoy.
Mhm.
And like as I watched it, I was like, this isn't that, but it is
Okay.
playing with a very interesting comedic style.
Yes.
Like, when he goes to his uncle's and his uncle's lecturing him about the like being a photographer and wanting him to work on the farm. Like that whole conversation is played like very intensely between the two of them. Like it's not this ridiculous notion, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like parents have these kind of conversations with their kids all the time. So like so much of it is on the surface like this is legitimate, but then what they're actually saying to each other is sort of insane, and that's where like the humor really I think gets like sewn in. Like I don't know, the best way I can describe it is like if it were a jacket, right? Like the
Okay.
outside looks and functions like a jacket the way it's supposed to, but then like in the lining you have this stitched in kind of subtle humor to where it's like, oh, this jacket is like tickling me from the inside. I don't know. That's a really weird analogy, but it's the only thing I had to really wrap my head around.
Never
Um,
bought a jacket like that. But,
Me either. They don't make jackets like that anymore. So that whole kind of comedic approach, like the sheriff just like eating
the
ribs when
ribs.
he shows up, and he's got like the barbecue smear on his face, but very intently, like nobody mentions the rib like it's a weird
No,
thing. It's just there and normal. Like all those little decisions, I think, really added up to what I thought was a pretty damn funny movie.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you thought it was funny. I like I said, I love it. I enjoy it. I still laugh at it. Every time I watch it, I find something new. The set decorations, there's always little things in the back that I'm like, oh my god, I know that. And I'll talk about some of that later. But it just has a little bit more every time, and that's why I keep going back to it.
Well, I'm glad that it's available for free if I want to watch it again.
Right.
All right. Well, let me take a moment here to set the table and give what little background or production notes that I can on this. So, Bloodsuckers from Outer Space is a 1984 American comedy horror, as opposed to the regular horror comedy label we see slapped on things, where Texas farmers turn into zombies, kind of, when they become infected by an energy field from outer space. The residents must escape before an overeager general can convince the president to drop a nuclear bomb on the rural town. This movie premiered at Joe Bob Briggs' Drive-In Movie Festival in October of 1984, and Pat Paulson attended the premiere and later said that he was a little embarrassed. But Carl Lorimar Home Video released it on what I assume was VHS in 1986, and then Media Blasters released it on DVD in December, and then 10 years after that, the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray comes out. Travis Box of the Dallas Observer cited it as one of the best low-budget films made in Texas, and Mike Fallon of Dread Central rated it 5 out of 5 stars and wrote, Bloodsuckers from Outer Space could be one of the kings of low-budget B-movies. And then academic Peter Dendel wrote in the Zombie Encyclopedia that it is a lot like the following year's The Return of the Living Dead, except that it isn't funny or exciting. Well, that I disagree with Peter. It is very funny.
Me too.
Maybe not the most exciting movie, but it is funny.
Yeah, I agree too, because I think it lives off of that excitement, because they didn't have a lot of money for special effects or for a lot of stunts or explosions, so they relied on the actors and their performances in it, and I think that kind of shines through. I do want to say one thing though. Yeah. There is Glen has a part of what's called Whacked Movies, which he's written a book, which I'll show later. They actually put out this 30th anniversary version of it. I don't know where you can get it. I think it's Whacked Movie. Yeah, whackedmovies.com in 2014.
Okay.
And this one has a conglomeration of a couple of different interviews in it and the trailer, and that's it. So there's still places that I think you saw it on Tubi. I saw it on Amazon. So it's still out there.
Yeah, and I think it's right at home with a lot of the sort of like schlocky type of stuff that's on Tubi, but for a movie to be self-aware without tipping its hand to the audience that it is self-aware and like that's what we're doing. I mean, I like movies to like acknowledge when they're sort of like doing that kind of thing, and this is a movie that does, but it does it in such a nice like subtle way. Like, I don't know, like sure, the makeup effects are sort of like obviously they're a little cheap because they had to be, and like some of that stuff is kind of cheap, but there's some cool techniques that are used in the film as well. And I guess if I were to have this on in the background where I wasn't like listening and paying attention, it would probably look and feel like a lot of other B horror movies that are low budget. And I wouldn't be able to tell it apart necessarily from any of the others, like if there was just a sort of marathon of that stuff running. However, it's like when you sit there and then you get to see some of like the very specific comedy choices that are being made in the movie, I think that's where it really gets to shine. And so, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad that I ended up, choosing this one from the list that you gave me.
Hey.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, let's, you want to try our hands at the synopsis haiku?
Yes. You want to go first or me?
I don't know. It's your first time here, so if you want to go first, I mean, you are more than welcome to do so.
Fangs from distant stars descend on Texas for blood. B-movie glory.
That's very good. That's better than mine. Much better than mine. Okay. When the wind blows south, blood flows from the townspeople. Nitrous saves the day.
Yes, it does.
I love that. Like they don't want to go anywhere without that nitrous tank.
Not just nope.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and there was a moment too where I was like, I wonder if this is going to come into play like at the end, and yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
it does in a good way.
In a very good way, and a movie that sort of for the 80s too, to acknowledge that like drugs are going to save the day. It's kind of like a, I don't know, I don't want to say like bold, but it's definitely like a subculture kind of
Uh-huh.
thing at that point. And so I think it's cool to have incorporated that as part of like the underlying narrative of the film. Although it's
Right.
not like important, I think, I don't know, I'm trying to think of other movies from the 80s where sort of any kind of drug plays like a prominent role throughout the course of the film, other than like, oh, kids are getting stoned or something and now they're getting killed by a monster, a slasher, or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because a lot of times it was if you're doing drugs or you're having premarital sex, you're going to die. And in this one, they do both and they survive because of it.
They've broken the rules of horror filmmaking. Well, we talked a little bit about why we like this movie and the good things that it does. And before we move on, I want you to, speculate a little bit as to why you think people generally receive this as a bad movie.
Okay, so I have a couple of things that I think would probably lend itself to people who really like real horror movies to not like this one. Um, Obviously, the low budget. I mean, yes, there's been a lot of people who've done more with less. Um, you think of something like Halloween, or you
Hmm.
think of Blair Witch, but they're different styles of movies. They didn't have all the blood and all the gore and all the different makeups and stuff. So I think the low budget is one of the things that people will see and get turned off on. I will also say that there are plot holes. There are things to why does this work and how does this happen, but yet it doesn't do this, that don't get answered. And I think some people will look at it as in maybe it's bad writing, when it's not. When I think more, it's about we're kind of just telling you these are the events that are happening, and if you were in these events, you wouldn't know the answers either. Um,
It's fair.
One of the other things is somewhere along the line, the aliens kind of switch back and forth. I mean, we see them, we see that the humans get blown, and the wind comes in and turns them, and then they're just like, "Arr, arr, arr, arr." But then you have like Dr. Pace, who was the lead at the research center, who's just a snarling beast until they suggest that he could use a barium enema. And he goes, "Oh, well, actually, I could tell you exactly what's going." And it's like that doesn't really kind of make it, in my head as to why. Um, I don't know. So
You threaten someone with an enema, and it's like even a zombie will respond. No, thank
exactly.
you.
I think the lab workers are also supposed to be very tongue in cheek. I mean, they've got research center styled like on the back of their lab coats, like
Very,
they're a
very
bowling
cool.
team.
Yeah, I want one of
Yeah,
those, to be honest. I was like,
yeah, I
oh, I
know,
didn't
right?
realize I think it says Research City, and I was like,
Yeah,
hey, that's pretty cool for some scientists. Can't lie.
exactly. I think maybe they bowl with those. I don't know. Um, but the lab workers just saying, "Oh, F it," and let's go get drunk. Oh no, we could actually go in the over here and use some of the drugs. Oh, okay. You're also supposed to be, taking it with a grain of salt. But I think all of those things put together add to what the charm of the movie is. And it doesn't, for me, detract in my enjoyment of it. It adds to it. And it makes it fun. And then when you find the backstories, how many people came out from the actual town that lived there and worked there to be in this movie. I mean, they actually took the bank and turned it into their makeup set, where all of the bloodsuckers would come in and have their movies, and bank tellers and other people would be like, oh, you think we could be in on it? Kids came out and their parents let them wear. I mean, there's a little girl who's like maybe 3 who gets it's just the charm when you find out what went into the making of the movie for me that makes it so much better. And there's, like I said, there's a ton of charm in this film. And if you just sit and watch it with an open mind, I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I think
You heard that, Jeff? I'm talking to you.
I think that's a fair point, because when it comes to, I think maybe I'll say the average movie watcher, I guess when you're going to sit down and watch a movie, you're giving over a certain amount of like time and value from your life to this movie, and you want that to be returned in some way. And so if you see that, oh, this movie like looks cheap, or it sort of has like bad, not bad, but low quality sort of makeup design kind of things, and some of those choices, there's a certain percentage of the audience that will just dismiss it out of hand because it's like, oh, this isn't worth my time kind of thing. And so it does, I think, for me at least, like, I probably had that for a good portion of my life, and then I saw something that was made with very little money and was like, oh, look at that. And then, I think if you give it a chance, and you don't sort of like hold yourself hostage with the preconceived notion that movies have to be a certain way, you can really open yourself up to a lot of different kinds of films and styles of filmmaking, and you realize that maybe like the budgetary polish is not always necessary depending on what the movie is trying to do. And so in the case of a movie like this, I could see people just being like, oh, the makeup doesn't look good, or it sort of looks like it was filmed in someone's backyard kind of thing, which it kind of was. So if those things are non-starters for you, then you're gonna have resistance with this.
Yeah. And for me, some of the times I will recommend a movie for someone that I think might actually enjoy it, and they don't. And they'll get mad. But then you stop and you think, okay, this movie is like, it's coming up on 42 years old. Okay. When we look back now at this movie, it's going to be like how, our parents were looking back at the Universal monster movies and stuff. And so you also can't, being a horror fan of today, watch this movie and not think, oh gosh, that's cheap. Well, yeah, it's cheap because Hollywood didn't give them $20 million to make whatever this is you just finished watching, the newest Annabelle or whatever, Megan 2.0. I mean, come on, a friggin' dancing robot killer doll. How is that different from alien bloodsuckers that float in the wind? It's just, you got to give the movie a chance. And if you give it a chance and you don't like it, we're cool. I like that.
Yeah, give it a shake. It's only like an hour and 10 minutes anyway. It's not really like a huge investment of your time. But I have noticed that there are people that, for some reason, like they need sort of like prior authorization on their film choices. Like there's this question that I see float around a lot, like, is it worth watching? And it's like, well, I mean, that's up to you. Like, you can't have somebody else make that decision for you. Like, so for me, I've kind of like, I've shifted gears to where it's like, as long as I'm interested in the movie for some reason, I'm going to give it a chance. If it's bad, so be it. Then there goes that hour, 2 hours, whatever. But I mean, I'd rather give it the chance because I was interested in it than sort of dismiss it out of hand.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I hate ratings. I'll watch a movie and it'll just be like, wait, this won an Academy Award? This was, a 98 on Rotten Tomatoes or something? Because it's all about what you like. And not to plug myself, but on my show, Fave 5 from Fans, that's what we do, is we talk about things that you like and we don't bash them. And so this kind of movie is the perfect example of, hey, I love this because, and then you can say, yeah, well, I hate it for those same reasons. And that's okay. And we can go on. I know I won't, recommend Frankenhooker to you because you won't like it either.
Yeah, it's like, here's a good starting point, and then, if you don't like this, then we'll just clear out like everything on that side of the table, and we'll recommend you something maybe a little bit more in your wheelhouse. But I too have sort of abandoned ratings. I did it for a while when I was like, oh, this is sort of how I felt like I was supposed to. Having grown up reading critics and seeing certain styles of like film writing and how, I mean, things were very prominently told to us before Rotten Tomatoes. It was like, oh, this thing has a D. There was a lot of like letter grades when I was sort of growing up reading about movies. And so I kind of like approached it the same way. And then ultimately it was like, man, I don't need to do any of that. Yeah, I can talk about something without having to assign like an arbitrary value to it.
And that's what I do. I actually, these like letterboxed where you can go in and I just watched this movie and I give it a blah blah blah. I don't do that. I do have a diary here of what day I watched a movie and what I thought about it. But aside from that, I'm not going to rate it. I'm not going to say I give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I'm not Siskel and Ebert. I watched it and here's why I liked it, or here's why I don't want to watch it again, and then I move on. But some people can't live like that. They've got to have somebody telling them what to watch, and that's just not fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is some value in like maybe curated film lists for people who are curious. I fear that a lot of what I see isn't curiosity as much as it is like, I've seen the thing of like people say like, oh, I don't watch bad movies. Like I don't want to use my time watching bad movies. And it's like, well then, okay, so I only watch like the greatest movies ever based on other people's lists. It's like, well, I mean, I guess if that floats your boat, like, look, I'm not gonna tell you what to do. I feel like you're sort of pigeonholing yourself there, but like, look, it's your life. Do whatever you want with it. And I use Letterboxd as a diary, and sometimes I'll write a review of something. Sometimes I won't. Most of the time, it's like either I'll put a heart on it so that I know that I liked it. But if you're following me on Letterboxd, I'm probably super boring because it's like this guy likes everything. It's like
I'm the same way, a lot of ways. Like I said, I have a very low bar unless you're really, really trying to make a film. And at that point, I'm like, wow, what do you love? What do you love about it? Are you just making something to win an award or, to get money at the box office? And that's fine sometimes. I mean, there's a lot of really great Oscar-worthy movies out there. I just don't watch a lot of them because the ones I do watch, I'm like, what's the big deal? The piano? My left foot. What about your right foot? Is that going to be the sequel? I don't know. But again, each his own. And I don't want to bash somebody if that's all they want to do is watch 5-10-star movies. Enjoy it. If that's what you want to do. Enjoy it. So anyway,
to each their own.
Right.
Well, now that we've speculated a little bit on why people don't like this movie and gone into the weeds about film culture, let's take a look back at the trailer for this movie. This says official trailer, but after we watch it, you're going to have to tell me whether or not this is actually the official trailer for this, because I have no idea. This is just what I could find.
Before we get to the trailer, it's time for a quick commercial from the multiverse. When the wind blows in from on high, don't be caught out dead in the cold. Try Windbreakers, the first over-the-counter oral medication that turns your flatulence into a defensive weapon capable of fending off zombies, vampires, mummies, and all sorts of other ungodly creatures from beyond. You may think farts are childish and dumb, but you won't think it's stupid when a well-placed rocket from your colon cannon puts Space Dracula back in his coffin. These specifically formulated pills pack a punch to your digestive enzymes and ramp up your gas, so even the most bashful amongst us can have some terror in every toot. So grab Windbreakers from your local 5 and Dime and fire up the old fart factory, because nitrous isn't the only gas that can save the day. And now, back to the show.
Okay.
I just love to eat you, Julie.
But you don't even know me.
Funny that it leads off with that kind of joke, though.
But I know who done this. It was them devil-worshipping homos from over on
Buford.
Street. Now, come on, Buford. I know for a fact them boys are Presbyterians.
trying to take our freedom away by sucking us dry. You've got to let me drop the bomb.
Look, asshole, I don't have to let you do anything. I'm the president of the United States. The people elected me. I'm supported by the masses.
Oh, I haven't spoken about it yet. The music in this movie is awesome.
Oh, okay, we're going to get to that when we talk about it. But, oh my God, I love this song so much.
Uncle Joe, you're scaring me!
Seems like a waste of taxpayers' money to me. Can you imagine the number of weapons that could be built for the amount of money the government spends on this place?
Sounds to me like you're not using enough drugs.
I'm sure I've used enough to last me a lifetime.
I could use some right now.
There's a tank of nitrous in the back if you'd like some.
You know, just because.
Yeah.
There's Glen right there.
You're up with passion each time you suck the warm life from your prey, holding it in your arms, caressing it as you suck.
Like they gave him a real chainsaw here.
Yeah, Tom talks about this. He's like, this was one of his favorite things. There's a whole, okay, this woman here, I don't know who she is, but I've actually tried to look up who she was. So good at this point. It's Kung Fu Redneck Zombies. I wondered how Uncle Joe picked that up somewhere. They don't get to watch the Mexican shows.
You cut my fucking arm off!
I've got a recipe for spaghetti I know you'll love.
His aunt still seems like a sweet lady.
Right, you know? I mean, I'd try her spaghetti.
Damn, that incidental music.
Yeah, she's not trying to suck anybody's blood. Just have some spaghetti.
Okay, here's one of the very meta moments right there.
It's gross.
Let's go.
I hope that stuntman wasn't hurt. Okay, we're going to talk about this stunt later, too.
I love that stunt. It's a good one. You got no money? How do you make it look like someone got hit by a car? You just hit him with a car.
Hit him with a car. Multiple times.
Yeah. Loved it. Okay.
All right.
So
I don't
how do you
believe that
feel about that? That's not the official trailer?
No, I don't believe that's the official one at all. I think that one does what too many trailers do, which is gives away too much. There are some, again, like, ooh, that incidental music is pretty scary. I mean, who's saying that in 1984? You know, I mean, it's, and then later on, there's another one where Norman breaks the fourth wall, and I'm just like, this is amazing. You know, I think, and I don't know, it's a good question for him, but was some of this like from watching, you know, the airplane movies or the police story TV show for a while? Because it just comes out, they do it, and then just move on. And you know, I love some of those moments in it. But yeah, I think I don't think this is the one. I have it, and I'll send you a version of it.
Cool,
but,
thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what we had to work with.
Right.
So I'll take what I can get. Yeah.
But we had to work with.
So let's talk about the car stunt, because it's probably the only like real dangerous, besides giving your actor a chainsaw. And I was like, that's a working chainsaw. Maybe you don't have the guy wield that. Obviously, like they cut and edit around him like swinging it at the other dude's head, so I'm sure there was some safety precautions taken in that way. But yeah, like if something goes wrong or if he mishandles that, that's really bad. So well, let's talk about the car for a second, because I put that in my notes. That is a great little trick in order to like get the shot that you want. And I love that approach to low budget filmmaking of like, hey, how do we do this given the circumstances?
Right. So how they did it, and I forgot the guy's name, but they had the stunt man in it on this most recent Vinegar Syndrome version. And he tells the story. First of all, that is actually Tom, the actor, driving the car, not another stunt man.
Okay.
Because they wanted it in the shot. So they went through this a couple of times. Tom, here's where you're supposed to go. And some of those zombie bloodsuckers were just townspeople. So they had to like make sure that everybody knew when to get out of the way, so that I'm going to call him Rick, so that Rick could do the stunt. They did not film the rehearsal of it. And he talks, and he tells Glenn later, yeah, you record them all now though, don't you? Because the first time they did it, he approximated that Tom should be driving at 30 miles an hour. Okay.
Oh my God.
Yes. So when he did the stunt and he jumps up, he actually went through the windshield.
I bet.
Of a regular car windshield. This wasn't a stunt, gotten out. He was okay, sore and beat up, but he was okay. And so they had to replace the windshield and do everything to do it again. And they said, okay, well, why don't we do it at 15 this time? And they did it again. And if you look really close, it's kind of sped up.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas if they recorded that original one, it'd have been, oh my God, and would have been, awesome. But he talks about that was one of the things where it's because I wasn't really a real stunt man and just took the best chances that I can. There's another scene that they had to film several times where he's playing another zombie, bloodsucker, and he's getting beat up on like with a stick, or I can't remember what it was. They said they had to do that like 6 or 7 times, and he just didn't have padding. So it's like every time they'd finish, he'd be like, oh, okay, just give me a minute. And then you have to go back and do it. So, I mean, this was some guerrilla stuff. But that stunt by far, yeah, it was real.
Yeah. And, I think the sort of element of danger in a moment like that makes me appreciate the sort of like psychotic nature of making a movie like this a little bit. But yeah, like a really sort of like good technique to sneak through that stunt, because it's like you're seeing them speed up in real time in the other shot, and then when it cuts to the stunt itself, it's accelerated played, I don't know, maybe at like 1.5, so it still like matches the speed that we're expecting, but looks pretty clean, honestly. I was like, hey, that looks really good for like given the limitations.
He bounces pretty quick.
Yeah,
that's the
given the limitations of this movie and the budget, and the fact that we saw like one of the like the cloth dummies thrown off the roof, right? So the fact that like that is in this movie, you sort of expect it to be in the moment where the guy gets hit would be like, oh, this is going to be a dummy that comes apart or something like that. But instead they use a real stuntman. So they caught me by surprise in that moment. And yeah, I really appreciated that stuntman's efforts. And fortunately, he survived the windshield the first time.
Yeah, that's crazy. And speaking of windshields, Tom talks about that scene where he gets frustrated and starts beating on the dart, or is it a pacer? I forget. But again, everything was real. There was no Hollywood sugar glass there. At one point, when he's smashing down on the windshield, it breaks and shatters up, and he gets like a piece of glass lodged, puts a pretty good sized scar on his hand, and had to go and get medical and get stitches and stuff on it. So it's like, I mean, this was really, you were committed to this role,
Yeah, and that scene too is kind of nuts. And that's like, oh, he's got a flat tire, but he doesn't have his spare. So instead, he just wrecks his car out of frustration. And while he's smashing the windows, you can kind of see he's a little hesitant on some of the swings. Because like I'm sure off camera they're like, yeah, just like smash it up. And like you can see he's a little reserved a couple of times on the swings, but ultimately ends up breaking all the windows out, the windshield, the headlights, really smashes it. And then it's like, okay, I'm done. And then the lady pulls up on the side of the road, is like, oh, what did this guy just do to his car? Who cares? Get in. Let's do some
exactly.
nitrous.
Yeah, he kind of like it's like, hey, hi, hey, how you doing? I just didn't do that. Yeah, and Julie is she's a unique character. And again, talking about songs, when she pulls up and that song is playing on the radio, it's like I'm the devil's phantom or something like that. Just really, really great. And it's two sisters who did this music. Their last name is Armstrong. I think it's Emily and Anne.
Okay.
But if you do a deep dive, I think Emily Armstrong has become a singer for like, I don't know, some death metal band or whatnot. So it's not her, but that's all you see in your Google searches. But the sister Anne is still singing. She does shows as late as last year I saw.
Very
But
cool.
I actually back in the days of cassettes, I actually used a cassette player and whatnot to rip those two songs, as it may be now, to have on a tape to play, along with some other great horror movie songs. But yeah, so love the music.
Yeah, and even the moment where she pulls up in the car and the music is cued in, the lyrics as she opens the window or something like, "Don't get in the car." Like
Yes.
it's very specific to that moment, and it's sort of like warns of danger, even though she's not a bloodsucker. But I think at that
Right.
point in time, kind of who is going to be and who isn't going to be is not really laid out to the
Right.
audience. So there is this notion of, hey, lady shows up in a like it's a Firebird or something and
Yeah.
rolls down the window, and you hear the lyrics from the song, and it's like, oh, this is not going to end well for this guy. And that's kind of how maybe a vampire movie would go in a lot
Yeah.
of situations, right? And so to, subvert all those expectations and kind of do what it wanted to do was really like, hey, the movie's got it's got stones and it takes chances and it believes in the chances it's taking, which I think is sort of the thing that gets it across the finish line. Like if it hesitates in its belief that the idea is going to work, you'll see it. But I think, obviously Glenn had a very, I think, singular vision for what he wanted to do here. And he must have been watching a lot of these other films and sort of learning sort of the space in between in which he could operate, and really wanted to like make something in that space. And I think was successful in doing so. And, I talked to you at the outset of this that like I couldn't really necessarily find what I would normally use for trivia for this episode. The only thing I can see is that this is Dennis Letz's film debut and
Right.
Julie Oliver Touchstone's debut as well. So you got a couple of debuts, but other than that, I ain't got much in terms of trivia. So I'm going to defer to you because you're the man with all the details.
Time for trivia.
So here's my notes. James Prince was the stunt man.
Okay.
He did the stunt at 30 miles per hour and went through the windshield. It was Dennis Lett's film debut. At one point when Jeff is fighting Uncle Joe and they slam up against Uncle Joe's RV, there's a sticker that says "Long live long necks," which actually was a sticker around Texas in that time that was "Long live rednecks." So they did a little spoof to change it. So I have a note from Travis Box from the Dallas Observer. I'm not sure if that's who you quoted earlier. But I want to read this.
Yeah.
It was. Okay. Parody is often a middle ground for independent filmmakers unable to execute straight horror or comedy successful. Bloodsuckers from Outer Space isn't going to win any awards, but it's fun and contains sporadic moments of mostly intentional greatness. There are far worse ways to kill a six-pack and an hour and 19 minutes. At the very least, the New Wave theme song is pretty choice, and there are very remarkably few fart jokes for a spoof that centers around a killer wind.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I never made that connection.
Wow, Travis Box, way to go.
There you go. It was great. And there are, again, like some of the things we've already talked about, a lot of the bloodsuckers that you see in the different scenes were all townspeople who wanted to be in the movie. Um, and so, again, I just think there's just so much heart to this film that I really enjoy it. So that's kind of all the trivia I'll have.
Well, that's fair enough. And I think heart is the winning combination here, and that you have someone who really wanted to do this thing, believed in this thing, cared enough about it to get other people to care about it, got an entire small town to care about this in making it. And yeah, it's like a community project. It's a sort of passion project. It encompasses a lot of the things, regardless of whether or not you sort of objectively appreciate the quality, the effort and the ingenuity and sort of the teamwork mentality that went into this, I think are things to genuinely be appreciated in all facets of filmmaking, from the lowest budget to the highest budget. You know, I've talked to a lot of directors on this show, and having like a collaborative working environment and being part of that sort of process is always one of the winning things that comes up in these conversations. And so to see that, you know, you were able to get the people to believe in the project, to get the town to rally around it, all that stuff is really, really cool. And I think worthy of admiration, even if at the end of the day, you're like, yeah, the movie sucks. It still did all of those other things that I think film fans and filmmakers, I think, would attest to the value of.
Yeah. I like to make the comparison where, you know, sometimes you'll go to a super expensive wedding and at the reception, they're going to cut this 3-tier cake with all this stuff all over it. And you go and you sit down and you go to eat it. And it's like, I don't know, just kind of tasteless a little bit. It's all about the exterior. Where I think a movie like this is like the cake that your grandma made that was an upside down pineapple that just falls apart, but you just sit to eat it and you just revel in it and you just enjoy it. And sometimes it's not about what that shiny end product is. It's about what goes into it. Grandma's love, you know, makes that cake, and so does Glen's to this one.
We've applied some very interesting analogies to this film, from jackets to cakes, and I love it. That's what I'm here for. So yeah, we didn't have a traditional trivia round, so we're just going to go over to the bonus wheel. We're going to spin it a few times because I don't want you to leave here without getting to play the bonus wheel. And
super excited.
First question off the board. So you have to sell this movie based on a single scene. So what scene are you choosing?
Ooh, good one. God, there's so many of them. I would want to use the scene where the 3 scientists meet up with Norman and he starts talking about all the weirdos and the weirdness that's making the weirdos. I love that scene. Yeah. But I think I would have to probably use the one early in the film where you've got Buford, the deputy, the sheriff, and Jeff all together, and they're talking about, well, this ain't nothing. Back in the 70s, we were finding body parts, and you ain't known something until you see a torso. And then Buford just goes off about the Presbyterians or Satanists, and I think, of course, it drops the N-bomb in there, which I guess in the 80s wasn't, you know, as PC. It definitely isn't. But if you could maybe whip that out or something. But I think that scene kind of encompasses what you're in for, because when the sheriff finishes and he takes the rib and he throws it onto the corpse, it's like, okay, this is what you're getting into. So I think I would go with that scene.
It's fair. I mean, and Buford is meant to be a racist bigot, so I mean, like, at least it fits with the character. It's not like this thing that is sort of unexpected from that particular character. You know, a lot of the time I don't answer the questions that come off the wheel. I think in this case I want to, because the kung fu, I hesitate to call it kung fu, but the fight that he has with his uncle is so bad that I think if you just show that clip out of context, it's well worth like engagement. And I mean, he ends up like, I don't know, he spins his uncle around, breaks the fourth wall, like looks at the audience, and then chops his arm off. And then we get the moment with the uncle who's like sentient enough as a zombie vampire to be like, you cut my fucking arm off. So yeah, I think
that is a great one.
It is. It's a good solid one. I love that comes back around to where there's going to be another fight, and his girlfriend is just like, I can't do another kung fu scene, and walks out of the house. So it's like that kind of self-referential, a little like self-flagellating type of humor, I think, is dosed at the right amount to make it work in this film.
Yeah. And there's a funny story that Laura Ellis talks about, where she said when she finished this movie, she realized, I'm not made out for Hollywood. And she went directly to an airport, where she applied to be a stewardess and got the job right there. And she said, I never looked back.
Wow.
So it's like, so this is the kind of movie that maybe makes or breaks what you want to do.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I think that happened with like a movie like Basket Case too. The actress who is like the primary love interest. She made that movie, and then she left. And I think she's like, I want to say she's like an artist who lives on like a hippie commune right now or something.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, like that was the one and only movie she ever did. And I'm like, I kind of get it. So it is what it is. All right, let's go to another question off the wheel. So this is a fun one because which minor character deserves a spinoff, and what would that spinoff be about?
Oh, it's got to be Norman. And I think basically Norman survives because he don't like that weird stuff and them weirdos. And so because he's got
babies.
Exactly. Because he's got top government clearance, he ends up at another facility, and mutant hamsters have gotten loose, and he's the only one who knows exactly what's going on. And it's Norman versus the weird radioactive hamsters.
All right. That sounds fun.
No, it doesn't. It's bad. But it would have to be around Norman, though, because he is by far my favorite.
Yeah. I would say maybe if I would do it, Buford, but I don't know that I could build. I don't know. It's like he's such a sort of stereotypical character that I feel like it's maybe probably easy to write a side story for him, but give me like him and then his interaction with like the sheriff's department involving some other incident. Let's see those torsos and stuff and what was going on over there. And it's still going to be prequel. I mean,
that's what we need. Yeah,
prequel. There you go. Okay, let's go to one more off the board here and see what we get.
Okay.
If you had to, there you go. If you had to pitch a sequel for this movie right now, what is your absurd elevator pitch?
Okay, because this one I can do differently then. So because, spoiler alert, the nuclear bomb takes out the Presbyterians and not the town. And at the end of the movie, we see all of the bloodsuckers just kind of going around, waving, playing football, driving a pickup truck. I think what we do is we cordon off the town, and because it's farmland, it's dairy land, as a matter of fact, they have plenty of blood to go around. And so they are there, and then some other alien life force comes down. And so the government works with the bloodsuckers to defeat the other aliens. There you go.
I like
and it's called Bloodsuckers versus buttholes. I don't know. we gotta incorporate the butt there so we can make a win joke at some point.
I'll take it. I mean, look, just on paper, that's a title that if I saw that scrolling across Tubi, I'd be like, okay, well, I'm pushing play on this movie.
I'm down for 79 minutes of this. Okay.
All right. Well, now let's just go to more or less. So tell me one thing that you want more of from this movie and one thing that you want less of.
Okay. I have 5. Okay. The first one, more zombies.
Yes.
Bloodsuckers.
That's fair.
Okay. I want to see more of those. I want to see less driving. Okay.
Okay.
And that could also be less walking as well. Because there were some scenes that just like, okay, we get it. Laura Ellis tells the story of, that famous when the car runs out of gas and they're like, we're going to walk. And she's like, yeah, we can walk. I like to walk. Walking's great. She says to this day, her kids and she'll run into people and they'll go, hey, walking's great. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe this follows me everywhere. But definitely less of that and more of the bloodsuckers.
Okay. I like that. Less transit.
Yes. I would want more money for special effects.
Okay, bigger budget. I like that.
And less of the wind blowing scenes. Because it doesn't need a lot. It just needs to blow in and then there they are.
Fair.
I definitely want more of the president.
Yes.
And his friend.
Yes. His associate.
And less of the general's aide. Because who really wants a rational thinking person in this kind of movie?
They're like, there has to be one, okay?
Yeah, there has to be. Of course, and I've said this earlier, there has to be more Norman and less communist and weirdos making weirdo babies. And maybe we should see more radioactive Presbyterians and less devil worshippers.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, now that there's a bomb that went off, we'll have some radioactive fallout for that sequel.
Yeah. Maybe the cows get irradiated and it's their milk that, there's just limitless things that could be done.
Yeah, just let's get typing on that screenplay. Okay. Well, was there anything else that was like, I want to talk about this, I have to talk about this, that we didn't get a chance to cover yet?
I would just like to talk about some of my favorite moments.
Go for it.
And hear what you think. And some questions that come up.
Okay.
First of all, are Buford and Norman somehow related?
I mean, they might be. It's a small town.
Yeah, exactly. Also, why do the space bloodsuckers waste so much blood? They're supposed to be bloodsuckers. The very first thing we see, I think there's 6 pints drank and 2 pints on the ground. I mean, come on, guys. Maybe it was their first one and they were just learning.
Well, maybe they're only bloodsuckers because when they turn, they vomit up, however much blood, and it's like, well, I just have to get back to baseline. And then
they're not gluttonous.
They're not. And there is sort of like a weird bit of dialogue in the movie where there's like an explanation of what the alien behavior is meant to be. It's like, look, we're just here to live life and then to die. It's what we want.
It's what we do.
I'm like, that's kind of like, it's a little noble. Like, look, they've been living forever and they just want to experience death, but they also need to live first in order to like appreciate that they're going to die. I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of like darkly romantic in a way.
Yeah, just for the people who end up dying in the process to let them do that. But otherwise, I mean, come on, it's a small town. It's not that big. Some of the other things that I really loved from this movie is the things in the movie the set director must have put in the background and stuff. For example, my dad had that exact same hammer that Ralph wants to use on Dr. Pace. With the white hard rubber head and the blue handle. We had the exact same one at our house. I also knew several people who had the tiny little suits of armor in their house that Uncle Joe had. And also everybody had a velvet Elvis at some point in the 70s and 80s. But when you're looking at Uncle Joe, he's got a velvet Jesus behind him. And I'm like, okay, now I'm on eBay. I'm looking for that. I got, also General Sanders. When did he get a promotion from Colonel? I kind of want to love that.
Just passively happened.
Yeah, it happened. Also at 29 minutes in the film, there is that scream.
Yes.
And then after they come back and they're all in the room and they're all just kind of looking around. Like they, I loved that breaking the third wall. I mean, meta before meta was a thing. And I'm also curious about what the one answer to all of our questions is. Because Julie said she knew what it was, but then they start doing the do and we never get the answer. So I just wish I could find that out.
Yeah, I wonder if there actually was an answer, or if that was just like we're going to allude to this and then never really have an answer for that. But yeah, that scream is amazing, because it's like when we finally find out as the audience that this is the thing that is happening, it just cuts to like a 15-second long shriek. Yeah.
Yes.
And then everybody, like, she must be like right outside the building, eavesdropping on this meeting or
that
something.
Must have been what it was.
Yeah,
I didn't think of that.
They all hear her and like, what is this disembodied scream that we just heard? Oh well, back to business. Yeah, it's a very cute little moment in the movie that I really appreciate.
And so many of those moments make this film watchable.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. We have spoken fairly kindly about this movie to this point. There is no meta scoreboard that I get to read off of because this was not a movie that really got covered by critics. So for this edition of Critics Corner, we're going to go instead to Letterboxd, and we're going to read some reviews from all across the spectrum, starting with a 1-star. We didn't include the halves, but this is Mario _Sakula, 1-star. For some reason, this is a weird review, but quotes Thomas Pynchon from Slow Learner by Thomas Pynchon, 1984. Quote, except for that succession of the criminally insane who have enjoyed power since 1945, including the power to do something about it, most of the rest of us poor sheep have always been stuck with simple standard fear. I think we all have tried to deal with this slow escalation of our helplessness and terror in a few ways to open us from not thinking about it to going crazy from it. Somewhere on this spectrum of impotence is writing fiction about it. End quote. I don't know if this is like a good review or a bad review. It's a sort of interesting one because if I'm like understanding the subtext, there is this thing about writing fiction about the things that scare us, right? And the notion that having the power to do something about it versus being a sheep sort of caught in it. I feel like these are kind of like astute observations about what is actually going on in the movie. But also it's given a 1-star. So I don't know. It's a weird quote, but I was like, there's no way I can't include this. Who is quoting Thomas Pynchon in a review for this movie? So I had to.
Well, I like on my shows, I really don't try to bash people, but I'm not on my show. And I think Mario is just upset because his brother Luigi's a better plumber. And that's all I'm going to say.
All right, let's go to a 2-star review then. This is from Shady CHSCH. 2-star says, extremely silly. The bloodsuckers really don't seem too menacing. You could definitely outrun them. It's funny that the nitrous that was just for getting high saves the day.
Yes, funny. And Shady sees whatever. First of all, they can run. They do run. They run down 3 National Guardsmen. So I think they could be pretty menacing. Maybe he's talking about the little girl. Like that could be it.
Potentially. It's like each of them maintains like some level of autonomous personality. So I'm sure there's some who can run. Like Uncle Joe could do kung fu and fight. Like maybe not all of them can.
Right. It's not like that hive community.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's go up the board. This is Slyer Matt, 3 stars. Says charming but meandering. If you think you can really appreciate that something like this was able to get off the ground, and it's clear that there was a lot of heart, but there are multiple stretches of the film that I thought were boring. Too much time in transit.
Yes, and one of the things that about the movie that I will say, if I could do anything, if I could tell Glenn to make one change, it's the fact that the movie starts and goes on for like 5-something minutes with no speech whatsoever, with just the farmer walking around, doing his cows, doing all of this stuff, and then he gets blown by the wind.
Yeah.
And that's the one. So I could definitely, if somebody started this movie and they're like, I'm going to give this movie 10 minutes to watch, I think they might have stopped at that point because, and the driving and the walking scenes. So you know what, Matt, I'm going to give you a pass. You did say it was silly fun. I'm fine with that.
Said it had heart as well.
It does.
But yeah, the first, like, even the edit of the wind with the farmer in the beginning is like, wow, this is a long edit of him reacting to wind. And then, whoa, he's vomiting up like gallons of blood for a surprising amount of time before we get to that big reveal of the credits. But, you know, so maybe just pare that down by like 15 to 20%. You still have the same effect and get people into the movie sooner. Whatever. I don't make movies, so.
Not me either. I just watch them.
Exactly. Maybe that'll change in the not too distant future, but for now, we're going to go up the board. This is Stevie Stewart, gave it 4 stars. Said, first of all, whoever wrote the dialogue for this was a genius. They knew the movie was cheap with wind force alien created zombies, gore, and off-screen sex, but they made it keep your focus. Plus, that opening theme song is a banger, bro. Yes. Why hasn't anyone ever told me this is the classic that it is? I've been skipping over it on Tubi for years.
There you go.
Welcome.
We're telling you now,
Stevie. Yeah, that's a glowing review. I like that one.
It is. I like that.
Well done, Stevie. All right. Well, we've reached the top of the board. 5 stars. This is November, but it's spelled like Aaron Burr. Burr. Yeah. Okay. Had the absolute pleasure of watching this film at a packed theater yesterday with the director present for a Q&A at Nighthawk Cinema. The comedy in this film is top tier, and I thought the film is really more of a satire of classic horror movies from the 60s than it is a true quote-unquote horror film, like many people at the time thought it was, hence the shit I got. I'm glad that now, almost 40 years later, people are laughing with the movie instead of at it. I'm not a film buff or anything, but I had an absolute blast with this film. If you're watching this movie with friends this Halloween and a few beers and blunts are added to the equation, you're in for a damn good time. I'm surprised you didn't say if you have nitrous on hand.
Right.
You're in for a damn good time.
That's what you need.
The one thing missing from that review was the nitrous. But yeah, so it seems like there is a lot of love and appreciation for this movie. Like I said, Letterboxd actually had it, I think, the highest sort of aggregate score of all the others. Had it at about a 56 out of 100. So that's 15 points higher than The Curve of the bad movies we love total aggregate. So yeah, people are at least discovering it and enjoying it and watching it in movie theaters with friends.
Still, I mean, you go onto to Facebook on the Glen Coburns, they're playing it all the time at different, and he's going to them and he's there. And sometimes the actors go, but I'm good for him because he should be proud of this because it's a lot of fun.
It is. And I mean, at the end of the day, if the worst thing about your movie is that like it's low budget but fun, like I don't know, that's a win to me.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, now we reach a very challenging part of the show because
not at all.
Well, for me it is because I'm like, I don't know, but I knew you would have some answers for this. So why don't you give us a few different gateway drug movies that might help somebody push play on Bloodsuckers from Outer Space?
Okay, so obviously we're going to say Plan 9 from Outer Space. It is one of the best vampire, zombie, ghoul, remote controlled dead people movies of all time. It's great. It's a good way to start. It's a lot of fun. And it shows you what you can do with not a lot of money. So I'm definitely going to go there. I'm also going to say, if you want to see, I hate to even say this, more polished, but a more polished bad movie like this, I would, of course, say Frankenhooker. It is an absolute romp. You talk about drugs. He makes super crack that makes the prostitutes explode and uses their body parts to recreate his his fiance's body. It's just nuts. And if you do know the movie, Patty Mullen, who played the Frankenhooker, she still does cons and she still wears the outfit and she still rocks it. Sweet, sweet super lady. But the true gateway drug that I would tell you would need to watch actually came out a few years after this movie.
Okay.
And it's called I Was a Teenage Zombie.
Oh, okay.
From
I haven't seen it,
1987.
but I know of it.
Okay. It's about 6 high school buddies who accidentally kill a drug pusher. I think his name is Zorro, and dump his body into toxic waters, which is fine until he returns as a zombie and goes on a killing spree, accidentally killing one of the buddies. Therefore, their only recourse is to then dump him into the toxic waters. So he comes back to try to save the day. It's so crazy. It has the feel of like The Body from Stephen King, or The Losers, also from Stephen King. But of the group of weirdos and wannabes who would bind together for this. It also kind of has like an Animal House feel to it. Love it. But one of the absolute best things about this is the soundtrack, including another banger of a title song, I Was a Teenage Zombie. But it's also got tracks from like the Fleshtones and Los Lobos.
Oh, okay.
A lot of fun. It's fun acting. It's not so great special effects, but the right in your face humor of this movie would definitely open up a vein to inject bloodsuckers from outer space into.
Very cool. And I, for one, personally miss the era of storytelling where toxic waste was the answer to discovering superpowers.
So is from the Turtles to the Class of 99 to the Toxic Avenger,
Yeah.
Didn't know what to do, dump it in the New Jersey river and you'll come out looking fine.
Yeah, Daredevil got hit in the eyes with some toxic waste, and then he's like super blind. So
exactly.
Yeah, I miss that era of storytelling where it's like, look, we don't have a great origin story on hand, so what do we have? Toxic waste. Oh man, this has been a lot of fun.
Has been.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we got to do this and we're able to put it together on short notice. And I know, you talked a little bit about your shows and stuff at the Open, but I want to give you a chance now to just, plug whatever you want to plug. Where can people find you if they want to, say, get in touch with you? Where can they listen to your thoughts on other movies?
Well, of course, YouTube. You can search for Fave 5 from Fans. I have a lot of my episodes up there. The first big group of them were just video, but now we do, just audio, but now we do video, so you get to see this lovely face. We're also everywhere else that they come from. You're on Apple, we're on Spotify. If you can stream it, you can probably listen to it. We're on X at Fave, the number 5 from Fans, which is probably the number 1 place to get me, or Instagram. And you can also look up PM Studios Pod to find out about all the other great shows we do, like Average Home Theater, Red Dog Terrain, Sequel House, Complete Disarray with Jamie Ray, where I have a guest just like we did, and we pick a topic and we just talk about it all day long. There's just so much to be done, and 2026 is really looking great. Depending on when this comes out, if you're going to go to Fan Expo New Orleans or GalaxyCon New Orleans, or Louisiana Comic-Con in Lafayette, we'll be set up there. Come by, tell us about some of your favorites. Obviously, I like to talk.
Yeah, well, you came to the right place, if nothing else. I think we both like to talk, so it was a good fit for both of us. And, I just want to say thank you for your time and for agreeing to do this, because, without you saying yes, episodes like this don't get to happen.
Well, I'm really, really thrilled to be on this side of the microphone. Well, I'm always on this side of the microphone, but you know what I mean. Thanks for doing what you do, Nick. I love the show.
Appreciate it. And I was very happy to have you. Have a good rest of your day. All right.
All right. You too, sir. Take care. And remember, It may not be the best. It may not be the most popular, but if it's your favorite, that's good enough for us.
Absolutely.
See ya.
Thanks to Jamie for coming on the show. He was a joy to share this conversation with and a true champion of schlock cinema. If you want to get in touch with him, check out his Instagram page, Fave5 from Fans, or you can check out the website directly. And keep an ear out for Fave5 from Fans wherever you get podcasts. Links for all that stuff is going to be up in the show notes for you for your convenience. Hopefully, Jamie will be gracious enough to lend us his joy and enthusiasm sometime again in the future. We've still got a couple of January stragglers on the way, including Bad Movies Monthly, where there are going to be some announcements. If you are interested in spending even more time together by becoming a contributing member, make sure to take a look at the show notes because sign-up details and the sign-up link are both in there for you. As far as the rest of February is concerned, we are keeping the Bad Movies We Love tradition alive by celebrating horror films here on the show. There is also going to be another Filmmaker in Focus episode coming out in February, and if you listen along, we just might have some surprises for you too. If any of those things sound appealing, make sure that you tune back in throughout the rest of the month and the rest of 2026. I know time is valuable, so thank you for spending your time listening to Bad Movies We Love. Until next time, stay safe, be good, do good, watch movies. Take care, everybody.